What's up, friends? Welcome to the Julie's Paint Party YouTube channel. Yay! Where you can learn how to paint without breaking the bank. I just use very simple supplies from the dollar store to create beautiful paintings. It's a great way to start your painting process. You do not need to buy super expensive art supplies to become a great painter. So today I'm just gonna kind of wing it a little bit. I'm gonna make a couple cactuses that look like they're falling in love. And this is all based off a painting that I made a long time ago, but I'm going to kind of tweak it a little bit, and I'm just gonna make it on this 9x11 sheet of watercolor paper. I'm gonna keep it really chill today. I don't wanna make a big old painting, but it's so cute, and it could be a really great way to just make something really special for someone that you love. Now, just a reminder, before I get to painting and showing you our supply list today, I love painting with my friends. It is my favoriteest thing to do in the whole world, and I host all sorts of different types of paint parties. So you can call on me and I will host an amazing personal private paint party for you and your friends, no matter where you are. This is great for team building, for teams that are scattered about, that are working from home, families and friends that can't see each other in person. We can all get together online and have a beautiful shared experience of painting together. Just go to my website, juliespaintparty.com. You can book there. You can see what's coming up if you're local to my area. If not, let's just hang out and paint online. If you absolutely adore what's going on today and you're like, I just want more, you can head to my website again and check out the membership. I have a Julie's Paint Party virtual hub where I have over 250 more painting tutorials, full tutorials for you to follow along to. All different styles and seasons and levels of painters are more than welcome to go hang out. And there's no commercials or anything like that like you get on YouTube unless you pay for the premium. And that's it. So juliespaintparty.com, check that out. And I'm gonna show you what we're gonna need to do today's painting. Now I only have 5 colors for my painting today. I have a little black and white, and I have some turquoise and some red and some green. So like I said, we're gonna make a few cactuses, and we're gonna start with making the pot for the cactuses. And because, you know, we can mix and match colors, we will be doing a little bit of color mixing today just to make things a little bit interesting. So first thing I'm gonna do, I guess for the most part, I'm gonna use my 1/2" flathead brush for this painting just because, there you go, come on, focus now, there we go. 1/2" flathead brush for most of the painting, but I also have my nice long liner brush on hand, or any kind of liner brush will do the trick for this, okay? I want to make my pot a turquoisey color. So the hardest part about today's painting is that we're gonna be doing some color mixing. I'm just gonna get all of my colors on my palette. So I got turquoise, white, black, green, and red. Now, just remember, we're painting at home, so you don't need to like fill your palette with paints. You can always add more if you need it. You do not need to go crazy overloading your paints onto your palette. I often don't use all the paints that I put on there just because I forget this fun fact that I can just add more later, okay? So, like I said, I am gonna make a little pot down at the bottom to hold my cactuses, and I want to make sure that it's low enough that I can add my cactuses on top, but it's not so small that it's, you know, can't hold them. We gotta have it just a couple inches tall, and I'm gonna put it in this area right here. Now, because I want one of my cactuses to actually be a turquoise color, I'm gonna mix a few colors together to make a fun kind of slate colored pot for my cactuses to live in. So I'm gonna grab a little water. I'm gonna grab a scoop of turquoise, a little corner of white, and a little corner of black. And I'm just gonna start there and mix those together. Now we don't need a whole lot of paint, so I'm not mixing like a big old goober of paint together. I'm just like, I put them together and I kind of pull inwards towards the middle of the pile, And then I will take the paint off just by kind of pulling and dragging some of that paint away. Now I want it to be a little bit more slatey than that, so I'm going to add a little bit more. So basically we're adding gray to our turquoise because we're adding white and black and turquoise together. And I want the color to be different enough that it's noticeably different from the actual color turquoise that I have on my canvas. So it's getting a little darker than I want. I'm going to grab a little bit more white to lighten it up. But yeah, that looks like a nice color. Nice slatey gray, slatey turquoise. Now, I'm probably going to want to use all this paint that's on my paintbrush here. So I'm going to try and find a way to kind of drag and pull off any excess. And I can always add a little drop of water into my paint to extend it a little bit. So that helps extend the life of my paint just a little bit. We don't want to overload it with water, okay? Now I'm going to give my brush just a really quick rinse because I want to start fresh. When we mix our paints together, it really gets our brushes really loaded up. So I'm just kind of rinsing out that excess so that it's not so overloaded. And when I go back in to grab my paint, I'm going to kind of pull and drag my brush. So I press and I pull away. And this helps my brush bristles stay nice and tight together. So I'm just pulling and dragging, pulling and dragging. Okay? And I have a rule that if you want to make any objects, if you start small, you can always make it bigger. But if you make a big old pot, it's just going to be big. So I'm going to start down at the bottom, and the shape of my pot is going to be a little longer at the top, and then it's going to diagonal down a little bit and be a little shorter at the bottom. So that's going to be the basic shape of my pot, but very basic. So I'm going to start to color it in. And like I said, I can always make it a little bigger if I wanted to. So I can extend the sides. Give it a little bit more of a rounded bottom so it has that pot style. I might not have made enough slate gray, but we'll see here. I'm going to extend it on both sides. And I'm just going to try and make it as even as possible. There we go. Voila, we have a pot. We have a pot, we have a pot to hold our cacti. We got a pot. Okay, now I want to put a little brim on my pot, and I just want it to be a little bit of a different color than the pot that you see here. So I'm gonna, whatever leftovers I have here, you know what? I'm gonna just grab a little bit more turquoise, and I'm gonna. Should I make it a little lighter or a little darker? I'm going to make it a little lighter. I'm going to grab a little bit of white and mix it in with it. Okay. Then, right at the top, I'm going to pull along just with the width of my brush here. So I'm going to pop a little bit over the edge and that's what I'm going to do. Now, if you want, you can totally like get in there and fix up the sides a little bit, you know, make it a little wider if you want, but I'm just basically pushing my brush all the way to the other side and finishing it off there. There we go. Ta-da! Now we have a little pot and it's adorable. Now, last but not least, I love to add a little bit of shading in with my things. So whatever leftover I have here, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to add a little bit more turquoise in here. But I'm gonna also grab a little extra black and mix that in. And just under the brim of the pot here, I'm gonna go ahead and just shuffle a little bit of that darker slate color underneath. So I'm just gently kind of dragging my brush down along that line and letting it fade out a little bit. Now, if it's too much black, you can always just grab a little extra turquoise. You can mix it in there to bring it down a notch. You know, black is very tricky like that. It likes to take over everything. So just keep that in mind. Painting is always an ebb and a flow. So if there's too much black, we can bring it down with a little bit of a lighter color. If there's not enough, you add more. And sometimes it doesn't always happen in one fell swoop. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get it to match. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of a lighter color on this side. So you can see, I have a little bit of darkness underneath my brim here, and I'm gonna add a little tiny bit of a highlight over on the left-hand side. Now I can do the same up top here, add a little highlight, and I'm keeping this really loose and fun. And it just adds that little bit of dimension that we're looking for. Just, you know, in the low spots, they're a little darker. In the high spots, they're a little lighter. You can even add a little bit more darkness down at the bottom down here too. I'm just really scribbling in. My brush is just getting dragged back and forth here. And that's it. Okay, so I'll stop. We got a pot. I'm gonna rinse my brush. You can see here it's got, my lights are getting super bright on my screen for some reason, and I'm just gonna leave it be. All right. So I'm gonna give my brush a rinse. Now what I want you to do is just take that extra time, take an extra minute, make sure your sides are the way you want them to be. Now, and it all depends on your style. So if you want it to look really, really crazy, symmetrical, perfect, it's gonna take you a little longer to get in there. Oh, I'm knocking stuff over. Okay, so if you want things to be really, really perfect around the edges, just take a little extra time and create that style for yourself. Now, I'm telling you right now, it's okay if it's a little wonky. It does not have to be perfect to be a great painting. Some of my favoriteest paintings have a little bit of a wonky line, a little lean-to, maybe like having a little crack in the pot somewhere. And I love that. And I love expressive brush strokes. So it does not have to be perfectly blended in. Sometimes I love to do that, and that's great. But for this one, I'm keeping it nice and loose and just fun and easy. So I'll leave it up to you, and when we come back, we're gonna start to add our cactuses on there. Okay, great work, friend. Now just remember, I can't wait to see your paintings. I love seeing your paintings. So please, after we're finished this process, if you could like head over to the Julie's Paint Party public Facebook group and post a picture of your painting and just tag me in it, because sometimes I miss some of the posts in there, but tag me in it so we can all rant and rave about how amazing you did, okay? Now, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna add the first cactus, and this is gonna technically be the female cactus. Now, I'm not a gender biased person. If you want, you know, I don't care if they're two girl cactuses, two boys, it could be two, whatever. We'll just call this one the smaller cactus. In my relationship with my husband, I am for sure significantly shorter. Okay, so this would represent the me in my cactus here. So, you know, actually, with that said, you can totally, I'm just gonna pop in here for a second. Okay, so you can totally do that with your painting too. Make it represent your relationship or who you are giving this painting to. So if you're the tall one, you make yourself tall and make the short one your partner or whoever, you know, is being gifted the painting. And vice versa. If you're both tall, make two tall cactuses. You can make it representing whoever you're, you know, gifting all of your love to, all right? So with that said, I gave my brush a rinse, and I'm just gonna dive into this turquoise here with some water. So I'm gonna grab some water, I'm gonna mix it in with my turquoise. Now, I'm doing this mostly because I'm working on paper, and the watercolor paper is very absorbent. So adding a few extra drops of water really just helps my brush move a lot smoother on my paper. And you can go to the middle of the pot, okay? I'm gonna head to the middle, and I'm mostly gonna use the lengthy side. So I'm not flat-faced doing this. I'm putting my brush on its side, and I'm gonna pull up and over. I'm gonna try and aim for this side of the pot here. So I'm right in the middle. I'm gonna pull up and over. This is gonna be me. Wow, so bright. Why? Why, camera? Why are you doing this? Bring it back here. Okay, so I'm gonna color myself in with a little bit of turquoise. Now, if you want, you can grab a little bit of white while you're doing this and add a little bit of white in with your paint. And I'm just gonna give it a nice coat here. But you know, because I kept it a little bit smaller, if I need to like grow out the edges or make it a little wider, I can still do that. So, you know, if I want, I can make myself a little taller. I wish I was a little bit taller. And just taking the time to kind of smooth my brush strokes out, just going around those edges. Now, if you find that the edges of your cactus are really dry, two things. You either need more paint on your brush so that it fills in those little dry spots, or grab a little drop of water, then grab your paint, and that'll really help smooth out the outside of your brush strokes, okay? I'm a little wider in the middle, so I'm gonna widen myself up here a little. Okay. Beauty. I'm gonna let that dry. And for my taller cactus, I'm gonna use a mixture of green and turquoise. So I have my green here, I have my turquoise, and I'm gonna grab a nice big scoop of turquoise and mix it over here in my green. So again, just like, you know, we're using turquoise as our base for all of these objects, but we're mixing in different colors to get different variations of the same color. So this is gonna be a more greeny turquoise. But I still want, you know, it's definitely somewhere in the middle. I still have my regular green and I still have my regular turquoise, and this is just right in the center, right in the middle of that. And for this guy or girl, for this tall cacti, I'm gonna start, so if you go to the center of the head here and kind of pop over an inch, I'm gonna start over on that side, and I'm gonna bring it down and connect it over to the other side of my pot. So I'm gonna put my brush on its side here, like this, and I'm gonna pull up and over, and I'm aiming down, 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 and down to that side of my pot. You can go vice versa too. You can start here and pull over this way if you want to. Now this guy's gonna have an arm, so I'm gonna pull it, make a nice little arm here, and then I'm just gonna fill it in. And I'm obviously going to fill it around the edge of my other cactus. Just making sure that all of my little canvas cracks are filled in. Yay! Now, one thing I am going to do, so this guy's going to have an arm wrapped around the other side of her over here. So I'm going to grab some of that same color if I have any left. And just over on the other side of her body, basically, I'm going to put my brush, that top corner is going to be right on that line there. So actually just the whole brush itself is going to be right on that line. And I'm just going to pop around like this and make a little arm coming out the side there. So just pull over. It's kind of like a little jelly bean shape. He's going to have his arm wrapped around the other cactus. Now, there's always a chance that, you know, I got some of my color into my other cactus. Honestly, I'm just going to leave it be for now. I want to add a little bit of shading into this cactus, just like we did down here, so that it looks like, you know, she's got a little shadow on him. So just using my straight green, I'm not going to use a whole lot. Around the outside edge of my other cactus here, I'm just going to add, I'm going to pull up little bits of green here, up the side, like under his elbow, or armpit, I should say. Scribbling a little bit of green. And even a little bit up here too. A little bit underneath of his arm. And there we go. Now, at any time, you can always bring it back. So if for some reason it was way too much green, I can take my dry brush and kind of give it a little once over so that it blends a little better, you know, so it's a little more scribbly and doesn't look such harsh lines. I really like to scribble things in, so right now I'm just scribbling in a little extra green. Just with my brush, so whatever green I put on there in the first place, I clean my brush and I'm just using my dry brush to move it around a bit. Yay! Okay. Hey, we got our little cactus and we got a little bit of shading in there, which is really fun. And just to save face, I am going to clean up the edge of my front cactus here really quick. But this time I'm going to do it with just a little bit of white on my brush. Not totally white. I'm going to grab some turquoise first. I'm going to fill my brush with turquoise. So I got my turquoise on my brush. And whatever corner I'm kind of cruising over here, so right now that'll be my left-hand corner, I'm going to grab just a little bit of white with that corner. So you can see I have this brush, it's filled up with green or turquoise, and I have a little corner of white there. And with that corner, I'm just going to swoop along this outside edge. And I'm just going to clean up the edge of my first cactus here a little. There. Now she's got a nice little highlight, and it's a nice clean edge. So I'm just gonna make sure this is nice and clean around the edge. And there we go. Perfect. Now, I want to make sure that this arm is okay too. It actually looks, you know what? It actually looks pretty good. I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna just let this dry for a few minutes. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna put a little shading down underneath of my pot here. So you can really use any of the colors. It really doesn't matter. But I think I'm gonna use a little bit, I'm gonna make a little gray. So I'm gonna take a little white, a little black, just a little bit of each, and I'm just going to do a little shuffle underneath here. Now I'm just going back and forth with my brush, so I'm pulling horizontally and dragging out the sides just to make it look like there's a little shading underneath there, a little shadow. And there we go. Now it's got a little shadow. Almost looks like I spilled some water underneath of it. And that's good. So what I want you to do right now, I just want you to take a second and just make sure that your lines are nice and clean. My painting is far from perfect. I have a lot of little brush strokes and stuff, but because we're just making this a really quick style painting, I feel like that's gonna really lend to the style of the painting. So I really want you to get in there and, you know, just clean up the edges to make sure they're not super duper dry, and then add your shadow underneath, and when we come back, we'll add the rest of the details. Okay, dokie. So we're gonna make these cactuses look a little bit more cactusy. I'm gonna grab my long liner brush, add a little water, and I'm just gonna grab my green. So I just take a little water and I add it into my green and kind of mix the water and green together. And with my long brush, I just make sure I kind of give it a little twist. I squeegee off any excess water, but then I also get a nice little point on the end. So my brush is nice, and notice how my whole bristle is filled up with paint, not just the end, the whole bristle, and have a nice little point on the end, right? And starting at the top, I'm gonna make just a few little lines in my cactus to start on both sides. So I'm gonna do it up here too. You know, you might see them really well or just see them a little. Either way, as long as they're in there, it's all good. It definitely makes a difference. There we go. So little cactus lines. And I think probably the hardest part is making the little pickers on the cactus, which I do with white, and I still use my long liner brush. Now, this is a great tool for a lot of different things, but if you find that you are struggling to keep the reins on how long the bristle is, you can grab a smaller liner brush too to make this work. And I'm going to grab a little water and fill it up again. I'm going to fill my whole bristle up. Get a nice little point on it, nice little point on the end. And all over my cactus, I'm gonna make little sprigs of little pickers. So I pull up, 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 and I'm just gonna do this just randomly. You can put as few or as many as you'd like. And I'm being so light. So I'm starting in the middle, I pull up one way, I make a V, and then I pull up the middle. Make a V and pull up the middle. Some are going to be a little smaller. Some are going to be a little longer. But I'm just using the very, very tip of my brush. I'm not pushing very hard. Very gently. In there picking each other. I pick you. I choose you. Okay. I think that's good for pickers. I think they're all picked up. Beautiful. Now, I didn't put pink because I had red, and I just thought it would be a really good idea to just give you the opportunity to have a few different variations of red if you wanted to. Or just make pink. So I'm gonna go ahead, grab my brush, and to make pink you need a very, very little amount of red to do this. So I'm gonna grab a big scoop of white and bring it over here and take a tiny corner of red and mix it in. And it makes a very lovely pink. See, you got this lovely kind of blushy pink color here. Now with this blushy pink color, I'm going to give my first flower here, or first cactus here, a little flower in her hair. So right here, I'm going to start by, I'm going to make a bump. I'm gonna try and make 5 bumps. 3, 4, 5. And at first it's gonna look see-through because the color on, here you can see it here. I think because my page is so white, it's picking up that color from the camera. So I need to figure out how to fix that. But basically I'm starting with a nice light color because having so much white in this color of pink here, not only makes it pink, which is great, but also is a nice primer. So if you decide to go a little darker with your flower, once this is dry, it's a really good opportunity because it's already primed over top of the cactus color, okay? And I'm just like, you know, I work on it until I like the shape of my petals. I think that's good. Nice. So I'm just gonna leave that be for a minute. Now, if you feel like you want to, you could put a nice little heart on your pot as well. And you can also use your liner brush to make some little love hearts around as well. So I'm gonna start with some red. I'm gonna take a little red, and there's a couple different ways. So if you use your liner brush, you can actually make hearts really easy by just putting your brush on the canvas. You can push one way and then bring it down the other way, and you have this nice little heart there. Now, obviously it's not very fat on one side. You can kind of fix up the edges, but it can be very simple like that if you want it to. Just push and pull down one way, push and pull down the other way, and you got a nice little heart. I'm just gonna put that nice, at least gives you a basic heart shape if you struggle to create hearts, if you have a hard time making hearts. And you can fix up the edges if you need to. And I'm gonna make a little bit of a darker pink from that little caboose there. So cute, so cute. Now, I'm just gonna let you fill in however many hearts you want to put on your painting. You could fill the whole top up with hearts if you want to, or you can just keep it chill and add just like 2 or 3. Either way, you know, we're just keeping the love alive here between our 2 cactuses. And it's adorable. All different style hearts, all different shapes and sizes. And you know, we put those hearts on, and while we were doing that, our flower here started to dry. So we can give it a second coat of paint. And I added a little bit more red to my color. I'm just gonna add a little bit more red just to darken it up a little. I feel like the shade of pink is a little light. So just darken it up. And that second coat of paint should do the trick. It should be enough to make it look nice and put together and not super see-through. I'm just getting back around the edges here. Yay! It's got a little flower top on it. Now, I'm kind of loving how this looks at the moment. And in the original painting, I did like a really stark black line around all of the edges. And I'm not sure I'm gonna do that for this painting in particular. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. You can outline it all in black if you want to. It's gonna really make it pop. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually test out, no, I'm still gonna give them little black eyes and see how that goes. I was gonna do white, but I feel like black's gonna show up better. So for my bottom cactus, they're gonna be looking up. So I'm gonna put one eye, I'm gonna put the left-hand eye a little higher and the right-hand eye a little lower so that it has that up-looking gaze, okay? So right now, I'm just taking the wooden end of my paintbrush handle, I'm dipping it in my black, and I'm gonna put one eye here, and one eye here. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to go to my other side, and they're going to be looking down, right? So I'm going to have one eye here, and I'm going to put one eye up a little further over here. Now, depending on the size of your paintbrush handle, you might want to make the eyes a little bigger, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab a little extra black. I'm going to just extend. I'm going to make these eyes just a little bigger for a little more impact. Or a lot bigger. Cuties. You know, in my back in the day when I used to love doing cartoon characters, I always gave them one big eye and one little eye. And these eyes are a lot bigger than the ones that I made before, but that's okay. It's adorable. Any kind of wee beady eyes are super cute. And because this one's gonna be the girl, and I'm not saying that only girls have eyelashes, because anybody who wants to can have eyelashes, I'm gonna pull out just a couple little eyelashes here. And I'm gonna give her a little smile. But so cute. And then I'm gonna give this guy a little smile too. Swing. Aww. Look at these cuties. Now I have a little bit of this leftover black on my brush, and I said I wasn't gonna do an outline, but you know, if you want, you can do a couple little defining scribbles around. So if you wanna make a couple little black scribbles around the outside edge, I'm just gonna really, really gently just add a couple here and there. And I'm also gonna do that with some white. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of white. And same, just add a couple little scribbles to the top of my pot, to the side over here. You can add a couple little highlights. You can even add highlights to the top of your cactuses. And you know, if you want to add a little fun center to your little flower here too, white or black is going to do the trick. All right. And last but not least, it's hard to leave the eyes totally black. It's nice to have a little bit of essence. So I'm gonna put a tiny white dot at the tops of her eyes looking up, and I'm gonna put a tiny white dot in his eyes looking down, so in the bottom right corner up here. And I'm just gonna try and get a little tiny bit of paint. You have to have enough so it'll stick, and it's easier to do when your paint is dry. So mine's still wet, so I'm kind of taking a little risk to add the two little dots of essence. Oh, look how cute they are. Cutie little patooties. Now, from this point, friends, because this is a unique gift that you're going to give somebody, I'm just going to fix up my edges. They're a little dry there. You can totally write something in the pot too. Like you could put your little heart. I like the idea of writing I pick you instead of I choose you because they have pickers. I pick you. Or, oh, you know what? So my husband's name is Jay and I'm Julie. So I could put J plus J. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to use the red. And I'm going to do a little J plus J. And can kind of carve it in there. I'm going off the beaten path, but you know, we got to do that sometimes. You just got to follow your heart. Listen to your heart when it's calling for you. I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know why. So, there we go. We have our cutie patootie little love cacti, and because I finished it, I'm going to grab a little bit of paint and I'm going to sign it in this bottom corner. And ta-da, look how cute that is. Now, this is something that you could do on a smaller scale. You could totally use it as a card and write on the back. And I really hope you had a lot of fun creating. Oh. This fun character, I was just trying to get myself back in there. Julie, where'd you go? Where'd you go, Julie? I'm right here and I'm pretty excited about how this turned out. So I can't wait to see yours. Please head over to the Julie's Paint Party group. If you don't want to post it in front of people, I totally understand, I guess. But you can also send me an email, you know, just go to my website, juliespaintparty.com, and go to the contact. Shoot me a message, show me what you did. I can't wait to see it, and I hope you have a fabulous day full of love, my friend. I'll see you soon. Bye.